up, you guys? Welcome back to another one. If you're new to the channel, I am Gold Pony. I do new car, truck, SUV reviews on YouTube, and today we are in the brand new 2026 Nissan Armada, courtesy of Younger Nissan in Frederick, Maryland. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. So today we're in this one because this is Nissan's largest SUV. It is a 3-row SUV, very powerful engine to go along with it, and it looks dang good in my personal opinion. So ultimately in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so as you can imagine, there are several different trim levels for the 2026 Armada. You got the SV starting at $58,840, which by the way is a $1,320 bump from the 2025 model year. SL for $63,530, Platinum for $70,490, Pro 4X 4x4 for $74,300. You got the Platinum Reserve, being the one we are in today, starting at $77,550. And lastly, brand new for 2026, the Nismo trim level, going for $79,530. And so the Pro 4X and the Nismo, those two come standard with 4-wheel drive. All of the other configurations come standard with rear-wheel drive. If you wanted to add 4-wheel drive to any of those other trim levels, you can do that. Simply add $3,000 then to any of those prices. But regardless of the trim level that you go with, the power plant is going to be the same for all trim levels across the board. And I'll get to the Nismo here in one second, but powering the Armada is a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6. It puts out 425 horsepower at 5,600 RPM. However, that is bumped up a little bit to 460 horsepower for the Nismo. Then you got 516 pound-feet of torque for all trim levels across the board there. And that comes in at 3,600 RPM. Power sent to the rear wheels or all wheels through a 9-speed automatic with paddle shifters. 0 to 60 time approximately 6 seconds flat. That's plenty respectable there. Top speed 123 miles per hour in case you were interested, with MPG numbers coming in at 16 in the city, 20 on the highway for the rear-wheel drive, 16 city, 19 then on the highway for the 4-wheel drive, taking premium unleaded fuel. But so then before we do any kind of fun acceleration test here in the Armada, I did want to mention to you guys the drive modes, because there are so many different drive modes. There's a circular dial located just above the shift buttons, and so drive modes will include rock, sand, mud and rut, snow, standard, eco, sport, and tow, adjusting things like the shift points, the throttle response, the steering sensitivity, and the suspension settings. So now having got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find a straightaway. Let's put the paddle shifters here and acceleration to the test at the same time. I want to see how quickly the paddle shifters are going to react. And by the way, there is a full manual shift mode. You just tap the drive mode one more time and that puts you into that full manual shift mode. So I want to see how quickly they react. And of course, let's see how quickly we can get our new 2026 Armada here up to speed. All right, found our straightaway. Someone's coming up on us though. In 3, 2, 1, go! Little delay. Yikes. It's plenty though. Definitely a delay at the very beginning. There was a little bit of turbo lag. It is a twin turbo V6 after all, but dang, when this thing gets higher up in the RPMs, this really goes, especially in sport driving mode. This thing just wants to go right now. I got to take it out of sport driving mode, actually. That's a bit too much, but definitely enough of an acceleration to merge you onto the highway. Quite fun, actually, and that's a lot of torque. Over 500 pound-feet of torque. That's plenty of get up and go right there, man. So you're not going to be disappointed. And Nissan has been doing twin turbos for forever now, I feel like. The GTR is a twin turbo V6. The Nissan Z is a twin turbo V6. The Armada is a twin turbo V6. So they certainly know how to do them. They got a very rich history of doing them. But anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. So up front, you will find 13.8-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 13.8-inch solid rear discs. As far as that 6 easier stopping distance goes, it comes in at 123 feet. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever on paper. As far as braking feel goes, 100% on the firmer side of things. Holy moly. Definitely extremely firm braking feel, which I personally love. I hate soft braking feels in the SUVs because that's typically what you get. But in the Armada, it actually feels good. It feels more like a sports sedan kind of braking feel. So Nissan's crushing it with this thing so far. But now let's go ahead and take a look at suspension and handling a little bit. Up front, you're going to get an independent double wishbone type front suspension. In the back, independent wishbone type rear suspension, front and rear stabilizer bars. But if you were to go with the Pro 4X, Platinum Reserve, or Nismo trim levels, you get an adaptive air suspension. So that is going to give you the utmost ride quality in the Armada. So that's the one you're going to look for if you want the best ride quality. So the cool thing about that is it is adaptive. So like when you're going at higher speeds, it's going to lower a little bit, giving you a little better aerodynamics. When you go a little bit slower, it's going to raise up a little bit in case you need to do some light overlanding or something like that. But it is pretty cool that it is an adaptive air suspension, so I absolutely love that. And although it is adaptive, there is an actual button to raise and lower the suspension as well if you wanted to. But overall, as far as ride quality goes, it's been 100% perfectly fine in my short little test drive here today, so you absolutely should not have any issues with that. Definitely going to be a nice vehicle for a road trip or something like that, so big fan there. As far as steering feel goes, it definitely is leaning on the heavier side of things, which I am a big fan of. It instantly points me in the direction that I want to go. So definitely liking that. As far as cabin noise goes, that's been plenty fine in my short little test drive here today. And that's due in part because there is an acoustic laminated front windshield that does come standard for all trim levels across the board. So that's going to definitely keep this a pretty serene cabin for you. And then taking a look at rear visibility, I actually have the rear camera mirror on right now, which I think is pretty stinking cool. But if I take that off, let me actually adjust it a little bit. I can actually see perfectly fine out of my rear view mirror there. It is a massive rear window back there, so you really shouldn't have any issues. As far as visibility goes, the boxier the shape is, typically the better visibility you're going to get. And this is a pretty boxy SUV, so you really shouldn't have any issues when it comes to visibility as far as three-row SUVs go. The other thing is the forward visibility rain-sensing windshield wipers do come standard for all trim levels across the board. So whenever this thing detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on those windshield wipers for you there. And then if you were to go with the Platinum or Platinum Reserve trim levels, you're also going to get a head-up display, which is what I am currently looking at right now. It's projecting my speed limit, and safety features up onto my windshield, so you can better focus more of your attention on actually enjoying the drive. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, you guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior now of our brand new 2026 Nissan Armada. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2026 Nissan Armada, finished in a two-tone premium paint. That's what the window sticker said, so I can't even tell you. It's like a sage green in real life, or like a gray green. It looks really good. Anyways, it's like a $1,450 option in case you were curious. But as always, let's go ahead and start with where the Armada is made. Taking a look at the VIN, first character is the letter J, indicating that the Nissan Armada is built and assembled in Japan. JDM SUV, baby. So let's go ahead and start up front. You will find an upper chrome bar on that front grille for all trim levels but the Pro 4X and the Nismo. They're going to have a slightly different front fascia completely, actually. To the sides, full LED headlights with LED daytime running lights. You get the automatic feature with those. You get automatic high beams as well, meaning if you have your high beams on at night and it senses a vehicle coming in the opposite direction, it's going to automatically dim them back to low beams. And when that vehicle is gone, it's going to automatically bounce it back up the high beams for you then. LED fog lights for the Platinum trim level and up. Then you're going to find some red tow hooks for the Pro 4X, and of course a ton of red accents with the lip kit and the Nismo badging for the Nismo trim level. But that pretty much rounds out the front end. I think it looks pretty darn good, but now let's go ahead and swing around to the side. All right, so but now since we are around to the side of this one, starting all the way up top, roof rails do come standard for all trim levels across the board. Rear privacy glass also coming standard across the board. Floating roof line in the back, kind of broken up with that Armada badging, finished with the silver background. You guys can probably see that. You actually do get functional front fender vents, which I think is kind of cool, letting the twin turbo V6 breathe a little bit. A lot of times vehicles just do that for show, but they actually are functional on the Armada, so well done Nissan for that. Taking a look at the side mirrors, they are body colored power adjustable side mirrors. They will be heated with integrated turn signals. They are power folding with puddle lights actually as well. Then taking a look down at the wheel setup, 18-inch aluminum alloys for the SV, 20-inch aluminum alloys for the SL, the Pro 4X, and the Platinum, 22-inch aluminum alloys for our Platinum Reserve. I love the design to our wheels as well. And then for the Nismo, you get 22-inch Raise Engineering 4 forged alloys. You gotta appreciate that. But also running boards do come standard. However, we have illuminated running boards that go for, I think, $450 is what it said. So that's pretty cool too. But that pretty much rounds out the side profile. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the back. All right, so now since we are around to the back of this one, you guys can see all the way to the top there, you got dual shark fin antennas. Rear spoiler with an integrated brake light back there as well. Rear window wiper is actually gonna be tucked away up underneath of that rear spoiler, in case you were curious about that. Yeah, it gives you a little better visibility when it's not affixed to the rear glass, but LED taillights do come standard. Trim level badging back there as well. You guys can see that on the bottom portion of that rear lift gate. And then there is a single exhaust outlet tucked away underneath on the passenger side there. So having said that, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next here. As always, here is that exhaust clip. Alright, so now since we are around to the back of the Armada, when it comes to opening that rear lift gate, it is a power lift gate for the SL trim level and up. Hands-free power lift gate is going to be available, but there is a button on the key fob. Of course, there's a rubberized button on the lift gate itself then as well, but once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 20.4 cubic feet, and that's behind the third row, of course. If you wanted to fold that third row down, that's going to bump that up to 56.3 cubic feet. Then with all rows folded, 97.1 cubic feet. That's pretty impressive. That's a good bit of space back there. Cool thing is, in the back, there's also buttons in the cargo area to fold down the rear seats. That's going to make that a little bit easier. There's also a button, since we have an air suspension, to raise and lower the back portion of the rear lift gate. So it makes loading and unloading a little bit easier. So if you wanted to load or unload things, you can actually lower that back end a little bit to make it a little easier for you. So I thought that was pretty cool. But those rear seats are a 40-20-40 split. There's tie-down anchors back there. There's grocery bag hooks. There's cargo lighting. There's in-floor storage if you were to lift up underneath of that cargo floor. And there's a 120 volt power outlet back there actually as well then. But let's now go ahead and make our way up to the third row legroom, because this is actually kind of usable. So 32.9 inches, that's respectable. For reference, I'm in even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the third row there. There is some cup holders back there. You got USB charging ports for both sides in the third row, believe it or not. So you don't always find that. I thought that was pretty cool. The rear ventilation does come standard for all 3 rows. It's going to be found on the ceiling here of the Armada. So everyone stays comfortable. But then making our way up to the second row legroom, that comes in at 39.2 inches. For reference, I'm still in even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the second row there. Bench seating is going to come on the SV and the SL. Captain's chairs coming on the Platinum trim level and up. Heated rear seats, if you wanted those, they come on the Platinum and the Platinum Reserve trim levels. Tri-zone climate control does come standard for all trim levels across the board, so the rear passengers can actually set their own individual temperatures back there as well. Rear USB charging ports coming standard. The only thing that was missing for the rear passengers is some rear window sunshades. I think that would have been pretty stinking cool. And I guess there is a pretty dark tint on those rear windows, but still, it definitely comes in handy nonetheless. But then making our way up to the front seats, leatherette seating for the SV and SL trim levels, quilted leather for the Platinum trim level and up, heated front seats for the SL trim level and up, power driver's seat for all trim levels across the board, ventilated front seats for the Platinum and Platinum Reserve trim levels, memory settings for the SL trim level and up. You're going to find some suede bucket seats for the Nismo. You got to appreciate that. And for our Platinum Reserve, we do get driver and front passenger massaging seats. And actually, let me turn those on real quick just so I can play around with those for a second. By the way, the button to turn on those massaging seats is located on the left-hand side, kind of on the seat itself, in case you were curious about that. But I'm gonna turn that off because it's kind of noisy. But anyway, seat comfort was plenty fine. It didn't have any issues whatsoever when it comes to seat comfort. I thought the quilted leather was kind of cool too. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the steering wheel. It is tilt and telescoping. It is leather wrapped for all trim levels across the board, and then heated for the SV trim level and up. The 10-2 grips are pretty normal. The bottom grip though, that what do you call it, a 6 o'clock grip, that is mammoth, so that was kind of cool. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key. You got your Nissan logo, lock, unlock, and that button to pop the rear tailgate. Remote start is going to be just underneath of that Nissan logo, so I thought that was pretty cool. You can warm this thing up on super cold days in Western Maryland, kind of like today. And it is all keyless entry with a push button start though, so all I'm going to do here is simply put my foot on the brake and press that gloss black engine start button located just to the left of all these center buttons here. And so once started up, when it comes to that gauge cluster, it is a full digital gauge cluster for all trim levels across the board, and it is somewhat customizable by hitting change meter view, which is found underneath the settings, and then customize display and then change meter view, but it's kind of hard to get there, honestly. There's only two different looks. Wouldn't have minded a bit more color customization to the gauges. It's just different gauge clusters, but different looks I think would have been pretty stinking cool. And it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of hard to get to, but nonetheless, the gauges do still look good, and there's plenty of information up there. Like there's a compass, there's outside temperature, how many miles you have left until you hit empty. There's tire pressure for each individual tire. There's navigation up there if you wanted to display that. That looks pretty darn good. I think I'm gonna leave that on there. So pretty much all the information you could possibly need on a gauge cluster. But now let's go ahead and make our way to overall interior quality. A panoramic moonroof for the Platinum, Platinum Reserve, and Nismo trim levels. That goes all the way through the second row there. Overhead sunglass holder does come standard for all trim levels across the board. Auto dimming rear view mirror for the SL trim level and up, and you get a universal garage door opener with that as well, of course. Wireless phone charger for the SL trim level and up. You do have ambient lighting as well. I'm just playing around with the settings on the infotainment screen here. I'll touch on the infotainment screen in a second, but you can adjust all the ambient lighting colors. There are plenty of different colors up there. Make sure you turn the brightness all the way up as well, just underneath of the color selection, because you definitely want to do that. And since we have a green exterior, I'm going to go ahead and leave it on a green ambient lighting color for whoever ends up buying this one. And you can't really see it all too much in the daytime, but I'm sure at night that's going to look pretty stinking cool. So I do like that that is available as well. And so just to the right of the wireless fan charger, you do have your cup holders, and then within the center armrest, it's probably the most storage you could possibly imagine in existence. And there's actually a little LED light within that center armrest storage as well. I do like the texturized leather finishes found just above the passenger side glove box. That is pretty cool. That continues on to the doors. Overall, I think interior quality was definitely done very nicely. A lot of high-end finishes, soft touch material, contrast stitching, things like that. So big fan of that. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the infotainment screen. As promised, you do have a 12.3-inch color touchscreen display for the SV and SL trim levels, and then a 14.3-inch color touchscreen display for the Platinum trim level and up. Either way, you get Bluetooth and audio streaming. Either way, you get wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Factory navigation system is going to be on the SL trim level and up. You can adjust your climate control settings up there, your heated seats, your heated steering wheel, all that stuff. Ambient lighting settings, like I was saying, as well as your radio information, of course. So when it comes to the sound systems, you get 6 speakers for the SV, and then a 12-speaker Klipsch sound system for the SL trim level and up. I still don't know if I'm saying that right, but anyways, let's go ahead and turn on the radio. Let's see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. That's plenty fine. Like that's plenty of bass, plenty of clarity for sure. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that sound system whatsoever. But anyways, last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on the infotainment screen is when you do put the Armada in reverse, you will find one of the highest quality rear view cameras in existence. So absolutely love that. You also get that surround view monitor there to the left. That's for the SL trim level and up, giving you that bird's eye view, letting you know what is completely all around you, which is always is going to lead me into safety. And so first thing I want to start by mentioning the very most important part. The Armada is an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus, which is the highest rating given by IIHS. So if you got kids in the back, it doesn't get any better than this. This is the same safety rating that Volvos get, so you got to appreciate that. Front side curtain airbags do come standard. In the back, you got latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard, traffic sign recognition, a blind spot monitoring system, lane keep assist, driver attention monitoring system, which I don't know how I feel about that one because it kept telling me to look forward during my whole drive on this thing, and I was looking forward, so I don't know. Pro Pilot Assist 2.0, adaptive cruise control with stop and go, and front and rear parking sensors then as well. So it's going to beep at you if you get too close to something in the garage or something like that. But overall, when it comes to my final thoughts, plenty of power here with the twin turbo V6, very safe SUV as well. Like I said, it does not get any higher than an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus, so you got to appreciate that. Do like the massaging seats, are a little bit noisy, but they're still kind of cool that they're there. Very elegant design, especially with this kind of sage green exterior color that we have with us here on this one. I thought that looked pretty darn good. As far as room for improvement goes, I think I would change up the gauges a little bit. I like that they're a little bit customizable, but again, they're just black and white. Then that's kind of boring. There's no seasoning to the gauges, as I've said in previous videos. It's just basic chicken, you know what I'm saying? But honestly, if that's all I got, Nissan's not doing too bad. I just think the gauges are boring. But anyways, let me know what you guys think of the Armada in the comment section below. I do read your comments. That's about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to follow me on social media stuff at the bottom of the screen. If you wanted to see what's coming next on the channel before it gets to YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe and the bell notification button. If you're into new car reviews, that is what I've been doing for 11 years now. I do appreciate you guys watching more than you know, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Stay gold.
Yeah.